Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Moohead Radio Show. Football season has begun. Oh, to do da day with a totally non-competitive, crushing loss by the Rams, proving that Matthew Stafford is still a lion at heart. I don't mean lion-hearted. I mean a lion at heart. And Buffalo made very easy work of them. But we're more interested in what's going to happen this coming Sunday as we're seeing not only ourselves, but we're seeing our competitors in the AFC North playing, and we have some ideas of what might happen in these games. Joining me is Double P. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Happy football's back.
Yeah, and I think that there are a lot of people who feel that way. There are other people who are using it for the altogether wrong reasons. I noticed that on Cincinnati.com, which is what I'm calling Cleveland.com now, because they, have made an announcement that they are going to be also reporting on the Bengals.
Are you for real?
Oh, no, I'm not kidding.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, we're going to have a separate branch. It's going to be for the Bengals. And it's like, go fuck yourself then. I have nothing. Look, I went to Miami of Ohio. I spent a lot of nice time in Cincinnati. I have nothing against the city of Cincinnati. I have nothing against Joe Burrow. I have nothing against Zach Taylor, except somebody needs to lead him to the bathroom to go. And I don't have a problem with the fans. The only problem I ever had was Sam Wyche and his stupidity. And he was stupid and put his foot in his mouth in a big, bad kind of way. But other than that, I think they got some tremendous players in Cincinnati. But I've heard of bandwagoning before, but I guess that's what Cleveland.com has done. They're doing the Joe Burrow bandwagon. And if he grabs his knee again this year, we'll see how quickly that comes to a screeching halt. Bad news to start out the show. Greedy Williams is on the injured reserve with a hamstring injury. Greedy Williams will never play. And I keep saying this, and I've been saying it since he had his injury. And this guy has been a series of nothing but nerve problems and soft tissue issues. That rhymes. How much more do you need to know? He never plays, and he never will, because his body can't take the kind of punishment that is unfortunately associated with professional football. And we're going into it was really funny. Hi, Bronk. How you doing?
Love the name.
Somebody, put up on Twitter trying to be the first with the news, It was
God. Don't get me started. I know it's my fault.
Queen is dead. And I said, died in 1991, man, when Freddie Mercury died. They never were the same since.
Well, that's true. Paul Rogers did the best he could, but...
He did the best he could. He was all right now.
Yeah, he was all right.
Now.
Hi
to the people in the chat room, Caption Fierce, and I, and other people along the line who were just sneaking a peek saying, what's Mr. Moohead have to say? So Greedy Williams on the injured reserve, and that means at least 4 weeks. And it's a hamstring. I just want to point out that if this doesn't convince you, how many more, because this is all that's happened to our secondary since they all got here, is they all have soft tissue injuries. And when are we going to get a real strength and conditioning coach in Cleveland?
Well, the Greedy Williams is a special case. Can I make a general comment?
Sure.
Either LSU players are either outstanding like Joe Burrow, or they're Greedy Williams and they're always hurt and never play and are shit. And there are so many of them in the league, and you could really go through all of them one by one. And we happen to have been lumbered with the ones who don't play. And Beckham can count as one, but Jarvis Landry was great. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm just, there's too high an incidence
Probably
of
will,
this.
Rick.
We never have our full complement of players. So Herb Miller was my neighbor, I think, in Canton when I lived there. I mean, they bring him up from the practice squad, and I noticed something that really kind of, I read transcripts. I don't sit and look for videos and all that. I look for transcripts because I want to see what these coaches are saying. And the Browns defensive coordinator was talking about zone defense.
Yeah, that'll work.
And I'm like, well, I thought that the whole point of what we had was that,
Warden Newsom supposed to be man-to-man cover guys?
Right. That we were supposed to be, on an island with a lot of receivers. That would free up more people to do other things like blitz or get to the line of scrimmage or
even run tackle even would be a concept.
Right. Get into the backfield and, that would be absolutely novel. Instead, obviously he knew what I didn't know at the time. And he knew that Greedy Williams was gone. So now what's going to happen? See, Greedy Williams was going to play outside on an island in man. When they would bring Newsom, the plan was into the slot and to help with because he's more physical inside. We know that Greedy is not physical. He is like a house of cards. So he would have got off the field anyway. Now we have to play Emerson, the rookie.
Yeah.
In Greedy Williams' place. And you want to talk about, and what they're going to do, God only knows, because you can't put Emerson in a situation in his first professional football game where he has the responsibility of covering men downfield in a zone coverage, and he makes the incredible error of running in the wrong direction.
Oh God, he'll Zendejo back there.
Well, yeah. And, that could be a major problem. So right off the bat, bad news on that front. They're not saying whether Jack Conklin is or isn't going to play. He may try to play, but it may be a matter of time until he's carried off the field. We've seen this a million times.
Knee, my leg.
Yeah. And then and the same thing with Jedrick Wills. My ankle. I mean, it's only a matter of time. It's the same recurring players over and over. And and then Denzel Ward will go down with something. God, yeah. This has happened every season. It's happened every season. Why not? I mean, until I see a change in the pattern of events, I got to feel that there's something causing this. I don't know. And it isn't a matter of being cursed or anything like that. I tend to think that there are scientific reasons for this. I think the game lends itself to soft tissue injuries for sure. But, I mean, you couldn't have gone easier on this group of players. They didn't fucking play hardly at all in the preseason.
No. We saw a lot of Javonte Moffett and guys like that, man.
Right. So, I don't know. It's like they ramp it up so hard that they end up ripping things out right prior to the first game of the year. I don't know. But right off the bat, when I saw the zone, it's like, here we go again. And everyone looking at each other like, oh, which way did he go? Oh. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, and very, very briefly, is something new that I'm doing this year. And this is for the out-of-town audience, of which there is a sizable number. Not everybody who listens to the program is from Northeast Ohio.
Does anybody actually live in Cleveland who listens to this program?
It's a good question.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Well done.
If you're wondering where this game is being televised, and I find this really, really funny, Of course, in the greater Cleveland area and in Toledo, and out toward Youngstown. So those Toledo and Youngstown, along with Cleveland, you can watch the game. Columbus, no. Columbus is going to show the Bengals because they're on the Cincinnati.com bandwagon. The other thing is, of course, if you're in the greater North Carolina area, South Carolina area, into Georgia, you can get the game in Augusta. You can get the game in Savannah. You can get the game in Charlotte. You can get it in Columbia, South Carolina. All right. So there's a lot of places that you can get the game. And then there's the funniest one of all, and that is the one island of yellow in the middle of the United States, Oklahoma, where the wind goes sweeping down the plain. For obvious reasons, this is Baker Mayfield's game. So, so if you're anywhere out in the greater Oklahoma City, Tulsa area, and really the whole state of Oklahoma, with the exception of where it borders directly on Texas, you're going to be able to watch, the Browns game there. And I'm not going to say anything about methodologies of streaming and things of this nature, but the game is a CBS game, and you can figure it out for yourself. If you're interested in seeing the game, CBS is the national carrier, and each of the cities that I mentioned have CBS affiliates. So you have that. And I think that's a necessary thing to say with the sheer absolute, well, first of all the blackout rules. Second of
Greed.
all, yeah, greed is avarice. Yeah. It was funny. I'll tell a quick story. And people know that for years I would negotiate with DirectTV for the lowest.
You used to do it over the air. That was hilarious.
That's right. I mean, I would go right on the air live and negotiate with retention at DirectTV and knock the price down and say, "This is how you do it, folks." So that
that was hilarious.
I'm a believer that
it was true. It worked. I mean, your best phone call though was when you rang up the Minnesota Vikings ticket office. You spoke to that woman for like about 15, 20 minutes. It was hilarious.
Tongue squarely and firmly in cheek. The bottom line is that I stopped doing the auto renew thing because auto renew gets you nothing but rate increases. And so I just started, you just go year to year. And I noticed that I didn't re-up it this year. I mean, quite honestly, I'll be upfront. I won't do that with DirectTV. I just won't do it. And DirectTV auto-renewed me without my permission.
Wow.
And it's amazing because when I went on the dashboard on my account, which tells you what services you have, what movie channels you have, etc. There was no listing of anything at all that resembled the NFL Sunday Ticket or the NBA League Pass. And sure enough, I go to my billing, and the month of August, they billed me the first of 6 payments. This motherfucker's up to over $400.
Wow. Yeah, they would be before preseason that they would start billing you. That's what they do with the Game Pass here. I mean, I paid for the whole thing in one go. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like extracting a pound of flesh. So what I did was I told them to get it the fuck off, make sure that there was no NBA League Pass either. And then I said, and while we're pruning... And I basically shut down every movie channel that I could shut down, and am on the minimum DirectTV now. And I proceeded to unplug my receivers and refuse to use the product. And the bottom line is I'm going back old school, because when people fuck with you and they lie... Wow. I don't have a problem with doing what I need to do to have fun.
Yeah,
and And in a lot of cases, it's not going to be any difficulty. It's not like I'm doing something that is illegal. I got friends who are helping me in a way that is legal, a legal way of helping people. So don't get the idea that I'm, Johnny Cash walking the line. That's not what this is about. But what it is about is that it's costs way too damn much. It's only going to cost more when everything is streamed. When satellite's out of the equation next season, God only knows Apple TV, Apple Plus TV, and all of those players, Amazon Prime, they're going to be bidding billions of dollars, upwards of $3 billion to broadcast NFL football games. So when I saw the yellow spot of Oklahoma on the map, I thought to myself, this is really becoming ridiculous. This, and I've stopped reading Twitter. It's like, what is it about fans that they can't understand that they're not in the game? All right. They're not internet influencers. I mean,
correct.
I mean, the internet influencers are women with very large breasts and beautiful bodies. Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
It has its place. Okay.
It has its place.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing
but
wrong with that.
At the same time, I'm reading, and there was one guy, and I don't even want to say his name, and he's not somebody who I'm associated with or ever would be. And he's like, I've made a moral choice. And he's showing his Baker Mayfield jersey. He goes, I'm gone for good.
Yeah, those are the worst.
And,
whatever.
That's the way I look at it. It's like, dude, you're a fat, ugly Midwestern guy, can't get laid, you can't achieve an erection, you have a problem in thinking that you're more persuasive than you are, you're not an influencer, people aren't going to follow you off a cliff like they do Donald Trump or Joe Biden, you're not that guy.
Yeah.
So, and why put a big picture of yourself? And it's because the narcissistic prick thinks he's actually in the game. And believe me, Baker Mayfield, if he saw you, he would make fun of you.
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, give me a break. It has nothing to do with what's going to play out on the field on Sunday. It's a side story that people are exploiting in order to try. And Mary Kay Cabot is, again, at the head of the class. Look at me, I'm Sandra D. I need attention. I'm a Ritalin child. I mean, this is what it is. This is what journalism has become, trying to get attention. And her puppet, Hayden Grove. I don't know if you've seen this guy.
No, I mean, in fact, I've not read a Mary Kay Cabot article since Cleveland.com put up a paywall.
Yeah, well, I don't either. I
have not read. That's
for
years
tweets.
now.
For tweets,
Oh, well, I'm not on Twitter either, so
yeah. Well, I mean, it's crazy. So you know who Hayden Grove is, Double P.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of his videos and his Twitter account.
Yeah.
No idea who this person is.
How would you describe him, Peter?
Like your typical Cleveland.com type person.
Yeah, I mean, he's the one he's the first one to literally run his tongue up the inside of Mary Kay's leg. Okay?
Wow.
He's the first one when she puts up something that is supposed to be world or earth shattering. He's the first one to go, great post. He's the Ed McMahon to her Johnny Carson, and she's got the balls to prove it.
Wow.
And I look at it and I go, well, let's find out a little bit more about this guy. And I did find out that he is an amateur singer, and it's kind of interesting. His hero is Michael Bublé.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, he's a crooner, and I get it. I mean, I'm a karaoke singer, and I enjoy singing, and so does he. and he had an album. And so I listened to the album. The thing is so overly auto-tuned, the motherfucker can't sing, obviously. I mean, if you have to use, I'm sorry, Hayden, it's going to get back to him. I know what you're doing, and your album of music is as fake as your act is on the internet. I mean, if you wanted to use auto-tune in a decent way, I suppose get somebody who's artistic and not autistic, okay? That would be my first thing. Your producer should be artistic and not autistic. Second of all, if you just turn the goddamn thing up and crank it up as far as you can, and you're basically pushing the share effect on fucking big band crooning songs, what the fuck are you doing? Make it stop. All right. That's what I had to say to Hayden Grove. And he doesn't really have a bad voice, but that totally ruined it. It ruined it for me, and it would ruin it for any music purist. Because nobody gets into that auto-tune unless it's part of the artistic thing. You know that Cher can sing. That was an effect. If you're looking for like a T-Pain effect, I get it. But that's not what he was doing.
Well, I have to say, it's a big no from me, dog.
Yeah, well, you should listen, and you can find it. Just look up Hayden Grove and whatever the name of his...
My life is way too short for listening to bad shit.
But I love bad music. I mean, is he Kesha? No, Jim, he's not Kesha because, got no ass. The man got no ass. What can I tell you?
You didn't spell that right. You're supposed to have dollar signs.
Dollar signs, that's right.
You didn't spell that right.
Now, but all this about Baker Mayfield, I mean, come on. Hi, Coach Wilson. How you doing, my man? It's good to see you.
Coach, he sounds like some Dennis the Menace character, like Coach Wilson.
Coach Mr. Wilson. The whole Baker Mayfield thing is such a non-starter for me at this point because the game will play out the way it'll play out. And I want to make this very simplified for people. What do the Cleveland Browns have to do to win this football game? And
well, can you do that John Madden voice if you're going to do what the Browns have to do to win this game?
Nah, I want to be serious. I want to be serious because I as it is, people have no reason to take me seriously anyway. The most important part of this whole thing is what we know about Baker Mayfield. And I don't mean tendencies, and I don't mean hoping that he's throwing off his back foot and things of that nature. It's the situations that you put him in that will dictate, what he has to do.
Yeah, it's a psychology of him. You know that he's going to over-try and over-stress and overdo everything. So
if he's got to push that ball down the field, and the thing is, there isn't a real good switch of when he should just on a 3rd and 10 take 6 yards and get off the field and play field position, as opposed to going cowboy out there and and firing away. But to do that, you got to stop the run. And I know that McCaffrey, they've moved him in and off and this and that. He's going to be fine. He's going to be playing without a problem. And he can hurt you in two ways, catching the ball out of the backfield and running for the line of scrimmage. He's a really fine running back. Last 2 years, he hasn't been healthy. It was reported that he had a cut shin from a practice that a cleat caught him. And that was really pretty nasty, but that he was still going to play. But, the people in Charlotte were just, holding their breath because it's been, the last 2 years for him have been very difficult. But you have to stop the run. And everything that Baker Mayfield does is accentuated to the positive by having a solid running game. And when Baker played in Cleveland, he had a good running game.
Correct.
And when teams moved 8 men into the box to stop the running game, that's a lot of where a lot of the problems began.
Yeah.
And if you take that away from him, then he will be forced to deal with wide receivers that he's only had a few weeks to work with. All right. This is not a rap on Baker Mayfield. It would be, and it's the same rap against Jacoby Brissett. The Browns have to run the football. If the Browns get stacked up at the line of scrimmage and Jacoby Brissett is left with his sub-mediocre core of wide receivers, then we have a problem. The way we win the football game is by putting Baker in enough third and long situations that, I suppose one of three things can happen: an incomplete pass, change of possession, a sack that'll be better field position with a possible fumble, which he has been known to do, or pressure that doesn't result in a sack, but comes up the middle and makes him start running sideways, and where he throws the ball off of a back foot and it sails, and then somebody can intercept the ball, and then you have better field position with turnovers.
Well, the obvious thing in my mind for the defense to do is to disrupt the wide receivers on the line, so that his timing is off. And that'll take him like 3 quarters to figure out, how to adjust for. So that's the problem he had all last year.
Well, I mean, there is enough game film on Baker Mayfield to see what he does well. And what we know he does well is, he rolls out of the pocket and he moves to his right very well. He doesn't have a problem throwing on the run. That's not his problem. His problem is when he stays in the pocket for too long, because he either stares down receivers or he is waiting for a big play to happen in front of him and find it. And that resulted in problems. But I will say this. Everybody is focusing on Jacoby Brissett and what he hasn't accomplished and his record that keeps coming up of 14-27 and his 9-11 record with the Dolphins, the Colts, and that sort of thing. And then other people will defend him saying, well, this roster is more talented than, and to me, Jacoby Brissett is a guy who is
below average.
A placeholder. He's a placeholder.
There's nothing particularly special about him. He's not good. He's not bad. He's
better than Case Keenum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'd all agree that he's got more vitality in his legs and his arm than Case did.
Well, I think I have more vitality.
Yeah. And we saw in the preseason, he definitely has a better arm than Case Keenum, too.
Oh, God, yeah. Yep.
And, for me, I'm looking at this and saying, if you look at Baker's record and what Baker didn't do, it's somebody's O's got to go. And when you look at the Browns opening games of the last how many years, and they have that 1 in whatever the hell it is.
1 in 55 or whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
Just remember that Baker Mayfield was 0-4.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So let's not forget that he came from the same lineage as all these other losses. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to lose in his first game with the Panthers. But I guess what I'm saying is the focus gets disproportionately associated with the past of the Browns as opposed to the past of Baker Mayfield, which seems to be a slate that's been wiped clean by the national media. But believe me, he was no more ready to play as his receivers were ready to play, and the Browns notoriously were not very good in the first game of the season. Before him, during him, and probably after him as well, which is the greatest reason why Panthers fans have hope. Not because the Panthers were a particularly good football team, and I would say that if things got off to a really bad start and they lose to the Browns, immediately Rule, their head coach, is going to be on the firing line.
He's on the hot seat. He's on the barbecue pit.
Yeah. So And you know that Baker will just go silent.
Yeah.
Baker isn't going to stand up for Matt Rule. I can guarantee you that. And everything will go quiet. Then everything will get political. And then they'll have to make a move. They'll have to have an interim coach. And it will probably happen sometime in the season because there's already substantial doubt about Matt Rule within that organization. So this is a must win for them at home.
Yeah.
Against a Cleveland team that is in emotional distress and flux. I wanted to point out a quote, and this is one quote. This was from Jacoby Brissett, and they asked him specifically about all the noise.
Oh, I know where you're going.
And he said, there's a lot of outside noise right now, Brissett said. I feel like that's all the time with the Browns.
Wow.
That is his quote. Now, this is from a guy who never played for the Browns, but played against them, and certainly has been in the league long enough to know that there is a constant driving force in the national media that makes the Browns look worse than they are.
Yeah.
And, you know, he didn't bother to illustrate that any further.
Yeah, he didn't have to explain it because everybody knows what he means. I mean, I think it's brave of him to even come out and say that. I didn't realize he'd done that.
Well, he's aware of what he's into here, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say, Moo, that do you think the Browns are under more pressure or Matt Rule and Baker is?
Right now, I say the Browns are because the Browns, you know, were expected with their roster to be a much better football team than the Panthers. And if the Browns come out and lose week one and look like they're disorganized, then it's going to be the same old Browns, and it's going to be right back into the, you know, slightly below, you know, the 8-9, 7-10 Cleveland Browns. And that's going to be the narrative that will come from the national media. If the Browns win, it'll just be, who in the fuck did they just beat? They beat the Panthers, and it was Baker's first game, and he only had a few weeks to get ready. So there's more pressure on the Browns just because of the whole Deshaun Watson thing and the glare of the spotlight and the fact that the national media is rooting for Baker Mayfield to plant a flag. And the funny part of all of this, the guy who's making a moral stance, stupid fat fuck, the thing that is unbelievable to me, moral, you know, what did Baker Mayfield do? He comes up in front of the cameras wearing, and he's pimping T-shirts that insult the Browns organization and the players he played with last year.
Yeah, that's always a good move.
I mean, you know, if you want to find the guy in the white hat here, keep looking. Keep looking, because there isn't one. There isn't a good guy in this story. Not from the civil suit, not from the women, not from Deshaun Watson, not from Jimmy Haslam, not from Baker Mayfield. There isn't a single savory figure in this whole goddamn story. And, you know, I want to say something to anybody who's listening. And that is, what happened to Baker Mayfield in Cleveland is unfortunate in the sense that Jimmy Haslam is a very impulsive person, and he's notorious for making bad, impulsive decisions. So I am not defending the Browns organization, but equally impulsive is Baker Mayfield. And if you're trying to make a good guy scenario out of this for Baker, the bottom line is that nothing was taken away from Baker Mayfield. The thing I don't understand is how a guy like Colin Kaepernick can never play the fucking game again. And here's Baker. He's getting his full $18.8 million. He's the starting quarterback for an NFL franchise that beefed up their offensive line and their defensive line and got him an extra receiver. I mean, he's right there back in the NFL. He can make his, man. He can get it done. Nothing was taken away from him. I mean, I don't know what the fans are so pissed off about. He has an opportunity, no different than the opportunity that he had when he came to Cleveland. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
He can win or he can lose. He can throw receptions or interceptions. He can stare down one receiver or ignore another receiver or do whatever it is he's going to do. And Cleveland will have nothing to do with it at this point.
Yeah.
We did nothing to him.
Exactly. And the whole
I don't
narrative...
understand how he's injured, not financially. And to be honest with you, what, he was supposed to stay after what they did?
Yeah. What's his contract situation? Is he still, like, did they extend him at all?
No, he's
No.
getting paid. The Browns paid upwards of $11 million, something like that. So they're paying him like $7 million to play.
So he could be done this year. So
That's
if he
right.
gets hurt,
He'll be
nobody's
on the
gonna
open
sign him.
market.
Yep. This
Oh.
guy, if he has a good year, and if he's as good as the fat fuck on the internet says he is, if that is what happens, then he stands to gain a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
I mean,
We'll
in
see
a
what
world
happens.
where quarterbacks are making $230 million, $245 million, all of this stuff, Baker Mayfield gets in the worst situation imaginable and has to, late in the game, show up to the Panthers, and he has a good season. I hope he does. I hope he makes a ton of money. Why not? I don't have a problem with him, but I do have a problem with people who are suggesting that we've brought the demise of Baker Mayfield, and that's why I'm taking a moral step and moving away from this team. It's like, if you were a moral person deep down,
Couldn't watch
What is
any games.
what morality is in football? This is not a morality play. This is a sporting event, and we watch for entertainment value. And there are things about the game that bother me personally, but really, it doesn't bother me that Baker got his $18.8 million in his final year of his contract, and that he has an opportunity to play well this year and make more next year and have an extended contract either there or someplace else. That doesn't, I mean, that's capitalism in football.
Yeah.
You have a good year, you get paid. You have a shit year, you don't get paid. But at what point does Baker Mayfield become responsible for his own future? That's the questions that I ask about all this. And they're bothering Myles Garrett. They're saying, you're going to go after him, and they're just trying to fuel the fire. And Myles Garrett had an off and on relationship with Baker Mayfield, but when Baker turned heel on him, when he slammed his helmet against Mason Rudolph and took the Steelers' side in the argument, saying that he hurt the team, well, I can tell you all kinds of things. I think Baker Mayfield hurt the team by playing injured. I mean, if you want to really just get into the stupidity of it all and the childishness of it all, I mean, I don't know. I think what Myles Garrett did was not a classy thing to do. And I'm not referring to the helmet. I'm referring to, in a game that they'd already won that was over, trying to get that last meaningless sack and pound him into the ground. That is the kind of shit that I argue against the Steelers for.
Yeah.
And as a fan of the Browns, I can't talk out of both sides of my mouth. When somebody does something cheap like that, I call it cheap. And I was disappointed that Myles Garrett did it because it hurt his team because he was suspended for 6 games. But to sit there and for Baker Mayfield to make that comment and then turn around and insist on playing week after week and clearly takes himself out of the Cincinnati game so that he can have cover for himself And, it's like, well, I was going for the hero thing. And when it's obvious we're not going to make the playoffs, I'm out of here. Baker's in this for Baker. Always has been. And I hate to say it, but Myles Garrett is in it for this stat and DPOY award. That's what he's in it for. He's not in it for the right reasons. And both players are similar in that regard. Myles a little bit quieter about it. Baker's a little louder about it. But the fact of the matter is, no, nobody in the Browns is going to go after and cheap shot Baker Mayfield and headhunt him. What they want to do is shut him the fuck up and just beat him. Is to intercept his passes, break up his passes, have an idea of where he's going if he stares people down. And that's what they want to do. And to say anything beyond that is foolishness. Absolute foolishness. And to go over what their relationship was between Myles Garrett and Baker Mayfield, it's over. What does it matter? These people are not joined at the hip. The other thing, and what the Browns have to do to win, field position becomes very important with Jacoby Brissett because, Cade York's going to be called upon because the history of Brissett is not to really do dramatically big things in the red zone. The Browns are going to need a number of big running plays from the line of scrimmage. They're going to need turnovers from the defense deep in the territory so that we don't have to rely on 75-yard drives, which are not ending in touchdowns, that are not the forte of Jacoby Brissett. And what we need is to be able to move the chains, and we need the wide receivers to play harder than what they've played in the past. And I don't know how that's going to happen. We need our front line to really run block and to allow us to control the game time-wise so that Baker might feel an urgency to try to press and do more than what he's capable of doing very early in a new offensive scheme. I think these are things that the Browns need to do. The problem with field position is we're getting the same kick returners that we had last year, which is abominable. I understand that Jakeem Grant got hurt, but if that was all we had, we got no more. And then you're back to putting Demetric Felton back there and Dearness Johnson and Donovan Peoples-Jones. These people don't know how to return kicks.
Yep.
And it's a good way to get them injured too. So you're not going to get any field position that you make on your own. You're not going to block punts. Either he's going to kick it off the side of his foot, or you got to stop him early to get decent field position by fair catching the ball.
Yeah. Don't bring it out.
And again, I think we saw this last year, and we're going to see it again. In 4th and 1 situation, teams are going to be going for it against the Browns over and over again, close to the 50-yard line. And the reason is they just don't feel that the Browns have a potent red zone offense, and especially with Brissett. So teams played 4-down football against the Browns last year, and they will again this year.
Yeah.
And the Browns, on the other hand, the only time they play 4-down football is when Stefanski chooses to run a double reverse.
Yeah.
And this is another problem. If the Browns come out looking disorganized, and like they didn't even go through a preseason, guys are not on the same snap count and all of that, week 1, I'm just going to be all over the coach and wanting a new one because he has put himself in a position as the head man, the play caller, the offensive coordinator de facto, because he's the play caller. He is the one who sets the tone for the team. And if the team isn't prepared to play, he has to be the one held accountable.
Well, I think the great unknown for me about this game is what are we going to get from our offensive line? We got a new center and we've got these two dodgy tackles who get hurt or who don't play hard or something happens, and then we got these backups that we know have limited skills. And if we have no offensive line, I mean, I watched that Buffalo Rams condensed game where they show every play in 40 minutes, and the Buffalo Bills line
Got after it.
was absolutely astoundingly good against the so-called world's greatest Aaron Donald and all these other pricks.
Shut him down.
They made Troy Hill look like Zendejo back there. So we need that offensive line to actually play like 2 all-pros and 3 decent starters. We don't need them to have 1 all-pro and 4 guys that are playing hurt. You know, we need an offensive line. Otherwise, we do not win more than 4 games this year.
Well, nobody forces Kevin Stefanski into doing anything, Hector. The bottom line is he's going to do just what he's going to do. And if he didn't want Baker Mayfield to play, Baker Mayfield wouldn't have been playing. He was with Case Keenum in Minnesota. He knew Case Keenum. He knew what Case Keenum could and couldn't do. But the bottom line is, when push came to shove, Case Keenum is a shell of the Case Keenum who had the one good year back with the Vikings. He really has slowed down, and his arm has just drifted off.
So now that Case Keenum is gone, who is going to hold Stefanski's index cards for him and cheer him on in these post-game team meetings?
Well, I think what we find in these situations is that the coaches bring in their favorite guys, right?
Yeah.
And slowly, as the team doesn't do as well as they're supposed to, they don't have as many of their friends beside them.
Correct.
And you can always tell when a guy is going to get shit canned because you just see everybody moving.
Edge away from him.
Yeah, they're
all edging away.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see, the sideline camera, and Stefanski's like on an island by himself,
Exactly.
And you can feel it coming. I can feel it happening from all the way down in North Carolina with Matt Rule.
Yeah.
If they come out and this the Browns, which are an organization that is in a tumultuous situation, and if they lay an egg in their home stadium, it's going to start early.
Yeah.
And it's just like the Jets. The Jets have lost their starting quarterback, and now it's Joe Flacco, and that's who we play in week 2.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's a statue at this point. I mean, the birds in the stadium could crap on him. He's got no mobility whatsoever. And, it doesn't take very long for the Jets fans to start beating the drums of disappointment.
Oh, God, yeah.
So, that's how that happens. And you're absolutely right, Rick. I mean, Stafford really upped the middle pressure. If you take a look at what was happening, the whole offensive line was collapsing, and he had nowhere to go. He just was smothered.
It seemed like Von Miller was winning on all the passing downs too.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
They beat them down, man. They beat the Rams, and aren't we glad we got rid of Troy Hill?
Troy Hill looked good in the beginning.
He had the interception, yeah.
Yep.
And I don't remember him ever being that close to a ball in Cleveland, but then he lived up to his particular skill. And
the second half, they just like ass raped them.
Yeah. I mean, they just hided them. Absolutely. And the Bills really, I can't argue with Hector on this. I mean, they're the favorites. Make no mistake about it. And they just have the look of a really tight team. I mean, they just ran their plays, and they were machine-like in their precision. Their guys were in the backfield. They didn't let the running game get them, and they put pressure not by bringing blitzes, but getting pressure with their front four. Looking at Von Miller was Von Miller,
Yeah. And Josh Allen right now, he's playing like the best quarterback in the league. He can run, he can pass, he can shrug guys off. He's looking dangerous.
And, everybody who says, we could have had him, we can say that about everything. I mean, there's so many things that other people could have had. I mean, the guy came from Wyoming and he was a 52% completion guy.
Yeah,
at Wyoming.
No one knew he was going to be this good.
No.
No one knew.
They knew he had huge arm talent. They knew that.
And with Hugh Jackson here, we didn't have the coaches to coach him up properly. So it's not like it would have turned out how it did in Buffalo, where they had an infrastructure and didn't fire their coaches.
That's a very good point.
And yeah, the Rams couldn't run the football. They couldn't do anything. And it was a really frustrating day for Matthew Stafford. But, Matthew Stafford's a one and done guy. And I'm not saying bad things about the Rams, but I'm saying he had his great moment. And you can't compare him to Josh Allen, okay?
And do you think Stafford's a Hall of Fame quarterback? Because I know there's arguments about it.
No.
Personally, I'd say no.
Well, I mean, a lot of it's where you play the majority of your career, and it's very difficult to assess. But, he had this one great year, but yesterday he didn't look so good. He sailed a couple balls. He wasn't, there wasn't a feeling that you had once the second half got underway that they even had a chance. They just got buried underneath an avalanche. And, people are asking what's the Browns record going to be this year? And, 9-8, 8-9, 7-10. The bottom line is these first four games are amongst the easiest games of our schedule. And you're going to know, if we don't beat the teams early on, like the Panthers and the Jets, it's going to be really bad. It's going to be really bad.
Yeah.
But don't worry.
The Bucks, the Bills, the Chargers, so you got to win these ones early on.
Right. I mean, it's, the national press, so that you can see how they're picking the games. The vast majority of people are picking the Panthers to win.
Yeah, I know. It's about 70-30 or 65-35.
And, this is one of these things that I'll honestly tell you that the Browns' history in week ones is terrible. We know that. But anybody who is comparing the two rosters, who believes that they're going to win, is on drugs. Okay? Yeah. I don't think that is a sure kind of thing. The Bengals are being selected to beat the Steelers,
we'll see.
But the Browns, most of these games like 23-20, 27-20, that kind of game, they're not saying that they're going to get splattered by them. I'm on Bleacher Report, and they're saying 23-20 Panthers. I'm just going to give you a little random sampling. The Sporting News. I really should do this by speeding this up. All right. They're saying the Browns 22-20. That's what Sporting News is saying. Pete Prisco is absolutely sure that the Panthers are going to win, but he hasn't gotten laid in about 22 years. So I wouldn't necessarily, be all that excited, because God only knows women aren't. You look at Pete Prisco and you say to yourself, you just keep doing what you're doing, Bucky, because there ain't going to be anything more.
A lot of it's because the whole narrative, Baker against his past team, he's going to be playing upset, going to be playing angry. But he should have been playing like that last year if he wanted the contract. So it's not like Baker's the quarterback to be feared.
Yeah, it's I can go from site to site, and it's pretty much the same thing. The Browns are picked to lose by Florio. Go figure. I mean, there's a guy who can just stick his head in a manhole. What a nitwit. 27-21. We knew that where he would pick because
great word. Nitwit.
He is a nitwit. Yeah.
Oh, you're at it.
ESPN, the ultimate flagship. I mean, it's all but two of their experts saying that the Panthers will win. All right.
Oh, what does Cynthia Freeland think?
Oh, I can't even begin to tell you.
Or our friend Rich Eisen.
Yeah, I mean,
Richie baby from Michigan.
If Myles Garrett can't beat Ikem Ekwonu, who's a rookie left tackle, who's supposed to be a really good run blocker, but has no real experience in pass protection, and they're going to chip. They're going to chip him, to beat the band. They're saying, well, on a few plays, they're not going to leave that rookie on an island, but we'll see what kind of an impact that Myles Garrett will have against the number 6 first round pick. That's always interesting. Outside of this, the Ravens will win. I think that they're favored to win easily. They're playing the Jets, yeah. But Lamar Jackson,
game.
But Lamar Jackson, they did not reach an agreement on a new contract. So this season will continue on with the uncertainty of this. And when the games get a little tougher, we'll see what happens with him. But the Jets right now, God only knows, the Flacco is being thrown into the fire. And, and then if you didn't hear, the New York Jets starting left tackle Dwayne Brown is out for the opener with a shoulder injury. He's probably going to be on the sent to the IR. And get this, it was the Jets who got Dwayne Brown, who's 37 years old, for a 2-year, $20 million contract because Mekhi Becton is out for the season. So this was like the far distant second choice, and he's hurt now. And an immobile quarterback has no protection from his blind side playing against the Ravens. I mean,
we've both gone on about this so long, but this season is just like 17 games. We're going to end up having practice squad versus practice squad in December. And it's a shame, really, because everybody's going to get hurt.
Yeah, they're going to have it's going to look like a MASH unit out there. I did want to say this. Everybody knows how much I love the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, don't we all?
And they're going to lose to the Bengals. But everybody knows how much I love them.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is the class of the organization, because they're going to be honoring Dwayne Haskins with a number 3 sticker on the back of their helmets throughout the 2022 season. I wouldn't have gone that route. All right. That's just real generic. Nobody knows he was number 3, never played, right?
Yep.
So it's just like these international symbols things. What I'd like is a little picture of a car with a hooker and him at the side of an interstate with a whiskey bottle in his hand, walking the wrong way on an interstate. Now, if we could have that done, that would be the commemoration. I don't understand for the life of me. I'm not happy that Dwayne Haskins passed away, but there is something really wrong. Something really wrong going on there. And Dwayne Haskins wasn't a Steeler, and let the Ohio State University put that into proper perspective. I don't expect the Commanders to do anything about it. I wouldn't expect, but the bottom line is that's the Steelers in a nutshell. they will honor somebody who never fucking played for them and then go out and cripple somebody for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
It's just the
God bless
NFL's,
Mike Tomlin and the Steelers.
It's the NFL's lapdog just celebrating a black quarterback for brownie points.
God only knows. And then finally, Alex Van Pelt talks concerning heading into week 1. What is your top concern for week 1? And he said, I won't be calling the plays again and never will be allowed to for the rest of my life. Then he did his best Topaz impression and said, get me out of here. He said, we're really excited to play, really excited for the challenge. I have concerns, but a giddy coach, you're always going to be concerned. We feel good about where we are. We have a good feel for things. He loves the type of leader that Jacoby Brissett is. He loves Amari Cooper because he actually has a wide receiver on his roster. On if people are underestimating Brissett's ability to throw deep passes, his comment, I hope so. Because sure as hell, I mean, I couldn't believe what they were putting on social media on Twitter was in a practice where there is no coverage defensively. Yeah. He throws a ball so far behind Schwartz that Schwartz had to come back 3 yards to catch it. Does he have he doesn't have a problem. He has a disability throwing deep passes. And it doesn't matter because nobody's going to get that far down the field anyway, because that's not the way the offense runs. Then they asked him, what about having 4 running backs on the active roster? And he said, well, fuck you. We've got 3 tight ends, and one of them's got a name of a bank robber.
Yeah.
Yep. And you notice how the second, they said that, and I keep messing the guy's name
Jesse
up.
James?
No. I know who Jesse James is, but our wide receiver who got off to a great start in the first week of camp and didn't play again.
Michael
the
Woods.
Third.
Michael Woods the second.
Woods the third, or
Woods the third or second, or
5th or 8th, or Charles the third.
Woods, is not going to play. He hasn't had enough time to play. We don't have anybody. There's nobody to throw deep to. Then they're asking him about fireworks as far as the offense was concerned. and he says, you know what's fireworks to me? 20-yard plus runs.
Yeah.
I think we led the league in that. Those are real cool fireworks. Well, maybe sparklers, but they're still fireworks. Glad he can laugh about it. He's got nothing to look at downfield.
Oh, let's all drink heavily.
Now it's time for predictions. We'll start with Double P. What do you see?
I like the Browns to probably win this game. I got us winning 23-17. I just think that with our defensive line with Garrett and Clowney, I think once you get Baker uncomfortable, that he's not going to be able to get comfortable and set his feet and make the plays. I do think with McCaffrey, they can still score, and Baker will have his spots where he looks all right, but overall, I just think our defense overwhelms them.
All right. Bronk?
I made my long rant about the offensive line. We don't know how good they're going to be. But I'm going to say that we win this on a Cade York field goal in overtime, 16-13. And it's going to be a terrible game. It's going to be a game that Leonard Pinth-Garnell from the Saturday Night Live will go, bad football. Bad. Another bad game. I mean, how many turnovers? What's the biggest prediction is how many penalties are both teams going to have? Is each team going to have double-digit penalties in this game? That's what I think will probably happen.
And for me, 23-20 Browns. Cade York kicks the game winner.
2 game-winning predictions here.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the Browns are going to lose this football game. with their roster and with the amount of time that Stefanski's been there, there's no reason that they should lose this game. And if they do, it's just a harbinger of tremendous grief for the Browns this year. But to sit there and say that they're going to lose, no.
Well, I think the great thing is that it's actually in Carolina. I mean, if it was playing in front of our fans, the Browns would have been so tight going out there and so afraid to fuck up and so afraid not to turn the ball over that they would have been tight, terrible, and they probably would have lost by 15 points. So the fact that it's in Carolina and the pressure is on them, I believe, I think that's what makes it more to the Browns' advantage. So it's like a reverse home field effect.
I do not know what the weather is going to be like in Charlotte, so I didn't check on that.
Oh, I can look that.
Yeah, before we get out of here, let's at least look into that. But a 23-20 score is just predicated on the Browns being able to stop the running game, and you got to put Baker in positions where he can make mistakes as opposed to feeling really comfortable.
It's going to be warm. It's going to be warm and possibly rainy.
All right.
So 50% chance with 28 centigrade, which is like, ooh, that's hot.
All right.
80% humidity, warm and hot.
A slick ball.
Yeah.
And the guy with the little hands might have more problems with that.
Yeah, it's going to be a hot game.
Yep.
It's going to be terrible.
Well, and so everybody knows, yes, there will be a halftime show. Yes, there will be a post-game show, as always. And so just be looking at your Twitter feed and subscribe to the program so that, you don't have to see my tweet to find out when it's coming up and all that. It'll come up automatically. Subscribe to the post-game and halftime show, and it'll just tell you that it's going to start at such and such a time and all that good stuff. And I hope to see lots of fans there and getting behind our team. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bronk, as always, in merry old England. Thank you.
It's not so merry now, but anyway.
Yeah, and Peter, thanks for joining us. And let's hope for the best on Sunday. And I'll see you again on Sunday, and then again with a more thoughtful rendition of the program on Monday. Thanks for tuning in, and go Browns. Let's get the job done. This is the start of a long road, and let's get the job done 1 week at a time. Until Sunday, hasta la vista, Pasture Heads. Good night.
Go Browns.
Go Browns.